how can you keep the people who are already there for you happy, and wanting to come back consistently for more.
Well, if they trust you, that's how they'll become a super fan for you. So that's
Yeah.
what the gain is. That
And the reason why I wanted to jump into that, because, you know, we have conversation all the time, and people tend to think there's no money in music. There's a lot, right? When people say there's no money in being an independent artist, there's a lot, right? There is money in streaming. It's not maybe what you want. You know, obviously we want the payout to be larger, but D-Ray, my little calculator over there, right? You know, 7,200,000 streams equates to about how much money?
That's roughly right around nine, maybe not quite $10,000.
Right. Now, if that's with 10 songs, so that's 10. That's someone that's doing 10 streams, or, you know, each super fan is streaming 10. One, they could make stream. They may love one song, and because I know some songs, man, I go to listen to something, I listen to it 2 or 3 times. If something really dope, I ride around. My wife go crazy because I sit around, I ride around all day on repeat on that one song, because I have an addictive personality. That's who I am as a person. So that's why, you know, when I had to kind of leave the street, man, I had to leave the street because I when I go all in, I go hard. So if I really like the song, I'll ride around and just put that whole song on repeat. So I brought that up to say this. There's money in streaming, but it's not in just you being focused on the stream. It's you being focused on the people. I like what you said about consistency. You know, give us another point that you learned, something that you failed at, or something that hurt you as an artist, as a creative, that you had to learn, that you had to overcome and be better, and it made you who you are today musically.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what we were saying about trust in terms of like keeping fans. You know, earlier on in my rap career, kind of like when I first started sharing music with people, and you know, my biggest fans were people who knew me from school or, you know, family or whatever. You know, I was a victim of a scam, an industry scam. And
talk about it.
Yeah, it was a competition, and you know, it was a competition, and the prize was a chance to perform at the BET Hip Hop Awards weekend.
I've heard that before too.
Yeah. And you know, and so I had one for my city, and like, you know, of course, you know, and we all should have known it was a scam, but again, I was young, naive, right? Because you had to pay to vote.
Yes.
And like that's like red flag number one.
You had to pay to vote. That's some foolishness right there, bro.
But here I was, and you know, I had friends and family, you know, putting money in to vote for me. And then as my name climbed up the leaderboard, more people got inspired who knew me. And so they were like people I ain't even really talked to, you know, were like, I just put in some votes for you. So like hella people put in hella money. I win. And then, you know, I went for my city, and everybody's all excited. They're like, you're going to be on TV. Da, 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 da. And it's like, nah, y'all, I ain't going to be on TV. You know, people are talking about they're gonna record the award show on their DVR and everything. And, you know, that whole thing, I let a lot of people down. And then I was embarrassed, you know.
So the show never did happen?
No, it did. But it was like, you know, it wasn't even in Atlanta. It was like, you know, one of the other cities surrounding Atlanta in some, you know, venue that these organizers had rented out. And it was like 100 artists in there, because not only did the people who won in the cities come, but they just started inviting other artists. And so it was just artists performing for other artists. And yeah, it was a waste of time. And they made a lot of money and scammed a lot of artists. And you know, but yeah, that was really detrimental to the momentum I had built up early on. That sort of initial foundation I it was just kind of a big letdown and a big, big, what's the word, strike to my own ego. And so it slowed me down a bit because I had to kind of pivot and rethink and re-strategize on how I
pivot,
get myself back up. Yeah.
pivot.
From that, so because there are sharks out there that will prey on your ambitions. Because a lot of artists want to get famous and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be on or I'll be a TV one, whatever. And yeah, so they feed off that and say, well, hey, look, we can do this for you. So that was a big learning lesson for you.
Pivot. That's one of my. I love that word. I believe in it. Right now, we're in the midst of COVID, and artists are suffering because they don't know how to pivot. Talk about the pivot. Talk about why the pivot is very important, and talk about how to overcome when you don't want to pivot, but you got to pivot, and why the pivot is a pivot.
Right. Well, the pivot is a pivot because you got to keep going no matter what. You know what I mean? And so it's not quite a turnaround. We're not going back. We still going forward. We're just not going in the direction we thought we were because we've learned that ain't the safest route to get there. So yeah, but for me, it's all about re-strategizing, going back to the drawing board, and thinking of what else you can do. Our imaginations are wide enough that we might imagine things one way, but that one way doesn't have to be it. And so if that is not becoming what you imagined it to be, you can always imagine something else. Our imagination is unlimited. And so for me, that's what the pivot is about, imagining another path, another way forward. And so, can no one take that ability away from us?
See, and that's why you're in my top 5, because I like how you express yourself, and really artists that I kind of listen to that I think are dope are artists that I can identify with, right? And the thing that out of everything else, the thing that I love about you, that I identify with you, is the fact that you're not afraid to be you, right? And I'm Ocho Rico. Like, I don't really care how nobody feel about me, good, bad, and indifferent. I had to go through some things in life where I was bullied when I was coming, because I was always small. And I got bullied until I decided that I wasn't going to get bullied no more. And I became the bully. But then I bagged and I changed. The thing is I love underdogs. So I identify with, it's just something in me that I kind of gravitate to people when everybody puts them down. And the thing that I love about you is the confidence that you have. And I think that's why, I can't really get into a lot of female MCs because they don't have a level of confidence, and that's why I can't get into a lot of artists. There's a difference between having confidence and being, just being a butthole, right? And, I know heard somebody say this, that being arrogant and confident is just basically who's viewing who you are, right? To be confident, that's going to make you as an artist. That's what I identify with you as love, because I know for me, I'm even though I work in sales and there's a whole lot of competition. I have 2 companies and I'm trying to build companies. I'm not in competition with nobody, right? Because the people that want to do business with me, gonna do business with me, right? The fans that you have as an artist that love Demi, gonna rock with Demi because they like Demi.